Good morning and welcome to today's Facebook Live. My name's Jenny McCormack and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm based in the market town of Brackley, which is in Northamptonshire in the UK. Welcome to the Facebook Live. If you're watching live, do say hi, let me know that you're here. It's always nice to know who's watching. And if you're watching on replay or catch up, whether that's on Facebook or YouTube, then if you have any queries or any comments, then just let me know. Pop a comment in there and I'll get back to you in due course. So good morning to you, Tracy. A nice Monday morning, a little bit breezy and dull here, but otherwise we're good. So this week we're going to be featuring some techniques with watercolours and blending pens. And a lot of people are quite nervous about watercolouring or using blending pens, and the secret really is just practice. And also watch some of the more expert people online in terms of any techniques. Now, Jo Blackman is an excellent colourist and watercolour artist, and I do recommend you look her out for this particular well, any of her videos, to be honest, but she does a fantastic job with this robin with the no line watercolouring technique. So I'm going to have a go at that later this week. Today I'm just going to do a straightforward stamping in black and then colouring in. And the set I'm using, as you can see, is called Happy Holidays. It features this lovely bird here, this little, well, we think in the UK here, obviously it's a robin, designed to look like a robin, but you could make it into other birds as well of the same sort of shape. We have some holly, and then we have some really nice sentiments. Wishing your family health and happiness throughout the coming year. Christmas blessings to you and yours. A nice style of Happy Christmas. A nice big Noel. We have these dots here, sharing the promise of the season and for you. And then, as I say, you've got a robin and a piece of holly here. So this is a cling stamp set in red rubber with the foam mount, and I'm going to be using some watercolour paper today so that it absorbs the water, and I'm using an aqua painter, or we also have our new water brushes, but you could use a paintbrush if you preferred, or if you haven't got one of these to hand. So let me grab my pieces of watercolour. So I've already stamped the robin a couple of times, but I have just realised that I thought I picked up StazOn, and for watercolouring you really do want a waterproof ink. So this Memento is water resistant when it's completely dry, okay, and I intended to stamp with StazOn, so I'm hoping, because I pre-stamped these about 20 minutes ago, I'm hoping that they will work. I'll soon know, because if they don't, the black will start running. So we'll give it a go with what I've got. If it doesn't work, I'll re-stamp another one with StazOn. So all I've done is just stamp the robin on some of our Fluid 100 watercolour card. You could also use our Shimmer White card, and you need to do that because otherwise it won't absorb the water. If you use our standard basic white card, it will take the water, but it doesn't move the ink around as well, and it does have a tendency to slightly buckle or curl because it's not designed to take the water. So the other things I have on hand, so I have my water brush, I have some blocks that I'm going to use to put my ink onto, and I have a linen cloth that I'm going to use, and you can use this for drying elements as you're going along, and also to wipe your water brush onto while you're changing colours. I do also have a small pot of water to speed that up if I need to, if I've used a lot of colour. You can use a piece of kitchen roll, but trying to be eco-friendly and using just like a muslin cloth that you can then pop in the washing machine. Okay, so let me show you the colours that I'm going to use. Let me find my phone to see who else has joined us. Good morning, Jeanette. Oh, Tracy's got sunshine. Morning, Kerry. Morning, Scott, Julia and Carol. So good morning to you all. Scott, you must have another day off, I'm guessing, otherwise you wouldn't be watching. I'm going to use this one here because I've stamped this a little bit further down so I can put a sentiment across the top later on. And then I've got an assortment of colours because I'm not really quite sure what I'm going to use, but I've got some green, and for the breast of the robin I'm going to mix a bit of real red and a bit of pumpkin pie, because of course they call them robin redbreast, but they're actually really quite orange if you look at them in real life. So I'm going to mix those two together, and then I've got an assortment of browns, soft suede, a little bit of grey as well. So we're going to start with the back of the bird here. I hope you can see that okay. I don't know if I need to take this sheet out. Would that be better? Maybe be better. And I'll bring it up to the camera at regular intervals. So I've stamped that there, so it's a very cute bird, quite large, so it's about 3 inches by about 2.5, and you could fussy cut this out. There's no dies or anything with it, it just stand alone. So let's start with a little bit of colouring at the back. So I'm just going to keep this one today fairly simple. So I've got a little bit of crumb cake, and what I'm going to do is, you don't want to put a wet paintbrush onto your ink pad because you'll just dilute your ink pad. So I'm just going to press my block onto the edge. Hopefully you can see a little bit of that. So that's crumb cake, and let's do, not sure I really need a lighter one, but there's Sahara sand, and then let's add soft suede on another one. If I can get some off. There we go. And you can use these blocks then as little mixing palettes. You could also use re-inkers and pop them into a little watercolour palette if you wanted to. Right, the glasses are off. So I hope everybody had a nice weekend. I had an extremely busy weekend because we had our Let's Get Creative event all day on Saturday, which was really good fun but tiring when you haven't done it for a while. Okay, so I'm just going to use, and what I'm actually going to do is grab a scrap, if I have one, of watercolour paper. This will do. This is one I've used for something else because I just want to see what these colours look like. So this is crumb cake, this is Sahara sand, and this is my soft suede, so you can see those three there. So I'm going to start with the lightest one and build up to the darkest. So let's just take a little bit of Sahara sand, and this has got the guidelines really for the colouring. So I'm almost just doing a wash over here, like so. Go. So this has got quite a broad tip on it, so good for covering a large area. But we do have ones with a fine tip, so if you prefer to do a fine amount of colouring, you could start with that. And now I'm going to use soft suede. Cassie, quiet. And just build up a little bit of a darker area across the top. Now I'm definitely no expert, and I really need to do some more practice. And I do watercolouring for a bit and then I stop. And so I do need, it's like anything really, the more practice you have, the better you will feel about it. Okay, now if you find you're getting too much water on there, just blot it with your cloth. Okay, and then I'm just going to add a little bit more detail here. So yes, we had our Let's Get Creative Day all day Saturday, so we set up Friday night and had a great day on Saturday, and then I was out with my daughter all day Sunday for her polo competition. So it wasn't too far away, it was up at Rugby, but it does make it a full day and all that fresh air. Okay, just going to add a little bit here for the legs, and I'm not diluting this too much and just using more ink, less water, and also because it's a small area here, it just helps to have a really fine tip. Like so. And then I'm going to build this up a little bit more. So this again is just a soft suede. Like so. So I am going to be brave and do the no line watercolor technique, which is basically using the same image, but instead of stamping in the black or dark brown, you stamp in a really light color, and so when you finish watercoloring you can't see the original line, so it looks like you've drawn it from scratch. It's very effective. Okay. And now I'm just going to use the lighter colour and just blend that in. Like so. As you can see that okay. Oh, we did have a great weekend, and yes, I will upload the projects that we made. So there were 3 of us teaching, so I will upload the projects that we made. I'm just going to add a little bit of grey in, so I'm just going to wipe this down. I might need to go to basic grey actually. Let's have a look and see. No, that would probably do, so you can see the difference there. And if you were planning to do a lot of these, then what I would do is I write on the colours so that I would know which ones I was going to use. and then keep that in with the stamp set. So just a tiny amount of grey in there, and obviously you can do more with the colouring. You could add in some speckles and things like that. There we go. So that's the sort of back of the robin, and let's do a darker beak. I might need some basic grey. Let me just see if I've got some to hand. Oh. Basic grey, because their beaks are quite dark. I hope you're feeling better, Carol. So just adding a little bit more water to this. Okay, a little bit too much water. There we go. And I'm just blotting that because I don't want that to spread. It shouldn't spread, but I don't want it to. There we go. I can always come back and add a little bit more into that. So now I'm going to mix some pumpkin pie and real red. So what I'm going to do is put one on each end of the block and then mix a bit in the middle. Morning, Jill. Looking forward to seeing you this afternoon. So there's pumpkin pie. Here's a bit of real red. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up some of that and some of that. See what that looks like. It's quite a nice, look a bit more orange. I might add just a little bit of brown to darken it up. There we go. Happy with that. So I'm going to leave the eye for the minute. And come around there like that. So it's quite a nice orange. So that is pumpkin pie real red and a little bit of soft suede to darken it up. So now when you're moving from one area to the next, you want to make sure that that earlier area here is dry. Otherwise what can happen is that this ink can bleed because it'll go wherever the water is, and I didn't do that, although it was probably mostly dry anyway. So I'm just going to dry off that body just to make sure it doesn't run. You could also use a heat tool just to heat it up if you wanted to. There we go. So I'm quite like that orange, if you can see that from there. and it's got some shading down here on the right hand side, so I might add in a little bit of red and the soft suede, just to make it a little bit darker on the edge. And what I would say, if you're watercolouring, is stamp out a whole bunch and just do one and then progress on to the next one, and you'll find that you'll get a feel for both the colours, obviously, but also you'll get other ideas in terms of where to start. So you could, for example, do all the backs, let those dry, and then do all of the fronts. So there we go, that's that. Now for the eye, what I really want to do is actually I'm going to use a pen to go around the eye rather than use a black some black ink. So I'm going to let that dry and add that in. So let's just rinse this off. And I do have some light black liner pens. You could use a Stampin' Up Stampin' Right marker if you've got one in black. I've got actually black and brown. This has also got a brush tip. Which I think would do. And also, if you had a white gel pen, which I have, then you could add a little dot in for that. So I'm just going to let that dry for the minute. I'm going to leave that. So if you're doing, unless you were just doing one, leave your block. Morning, Lynn. Morning, Isabel. Oh, poor Jill's got bad back. Sorry to hear that. And hi, Annette. Thanks for joining us. So if you're doing a whole series of these, not just one, then I would just leave my blocks out, just let them dry. The ink will dry on there, but there will still be ink on there, so you can come back and just use your paintbrush or your water painter to add a little bit of water, and off you go again. Obviously don't leave them there if you're not planning to do any more, because I can guarantee if you're anything like me, you'll put your finger on it or your cardstock on it or something like that. So I just want to ground this little robin here just by adding a little wash of colour and probably crumb cake. Let's see. Just going to use the other side of this. So acrylic blocks are perfect for this purpose. If you've got the old style inks, you can squish the ink onto the lid and pick up the ink from there. It doesn't work so well with the new lids because they're a much tighter fit and there's not enough give. So I find it easier just to do it in this method. Okay. So I'm just going to pick up this crumb cake, and again, and I'm just going to draw across it like that. So it could either be on a log or it could just be on the ground. So I'm just using that line there, like so. Like that. Okay, I'm going to stamp my Christmas message across the top, and then when it's dry I'm just going to add a little bit of that black ink around the eye, and I might add a little bit of that also on the beak just to darken that up a bit. And so we have some nice sentiments here. So I think this Happy Christmas would be nice across the top, and I did stamp this one a little bit further down, or Christmas blessings to you and yours, whichever you prefer. And Happy Christmas is here. Let's wipe this one down. And the sun has come out here, so that's good. So this week I'm going to be working on different techniques with this same stamp set. So we'll be stepping up. So I'm going to do some no line watercolouring, and I'm also going to be doing some blends pens, so colouring the same image in with the blends pens, and you can see what a difference that will make. And I'm going to stamp this in Memento. Now looking at this, now it's rested and drying, I think this robin, the red patch here, is too bright. I think I need to just lighten it up a little bit, so I'll show you how we can do that. Right, I need to stamp this to see. I haven't put the label on yet, sorry, because it's such a new stamp set. And then all I'm going to do is mount this on some backing and pop it onto a card. So nice and simple. Carol's shouting at me. Just stamp it. Okay, because this is watercolour card, it's quite a rough surface, so always hold your stamp, if it's a fine stamp, on there just a little bit longer, because it's got to get through the roughness of the paper. So I say what I would do for this is I would write on here, what was that? Sahara sand. And this was crumb cake. This was soft suede. And then I've got this was grey granite, and this was basic grey. And then for my colour it was real red plus pumpkin pie plus soft suede. So I would keep that with my stamp set, so if I came back to it you know, later and I'd forgotten what colours I've used, it's all there ready for me. So I'm just going to fill this in, and this is a permanent pigment ink. And I'm just going to add a little bit of detail to that beak as well. Like so, if you can see that, just to help that pop a little bit. So Stampin' Right marker would do that. Blends pen is probably a little bit too broad for that. Hi sugar. So just want to add a little bit of white. I have some gel pens here. Some of them are older than others. That one will do nicely. There you are. Just want that eye to stand out a little bit more. So there we go, and it's stood on either the ground or on a log or something. Right, let's cover this up. Okay, so that's our first one for this week. Just simple watercolouring. Let me see what I'm going to mount that onto. So I did have, I haven't used the holly yet. But I want to keep this one as is, so I'm thinking I need a brown card, so maybe crumb cake behind. it's a daisy. Sorry. I don't really want to use red. I could use a pumpkin pie. So let's see what I've got. So this is crumb cake. This is early espresso. So I could do a small layer of espresso onto there, or I could do it in reverse onto there, but early espresso is not very Christmassy. I don't really want to introduce a green. A white card. Let me just, I just wanted to lighten that up, didn't I? So let me show you how to do that. So where you've got a darker area, if you want to lighten it, just take a clean paintbrush. You can add a little bit of water, and then what you can do, I need to take my glasses off, sorry, is just add some water like so, and then blot to lift out some colour. Let me do that again. If I do a clean piece here, hopefully you'll see. So it's just picked out a bit of that colour, so it's just lightening it up. And you could only really do this on watercolour paper, because non-watercolour paper the ink would have soaked in completely. So just lightening it up. Clean the paintbrush every so often, otherwise you're just going to be putting it back again. And then do that. So that's better. It's just a little bit lighter, you can see that. Okay, let's just see. I think it's because I haven't got this as pumpkin or real red, so I don't want to let's see what papers I have that I might put behind. I just don't want to introduce too many other colours, that's all. I could also cut this down, but I think for the purpose of today I'm just going to layer those up like that. So bear with me while I cut those pieces down. Thank you, Jeanette. So just, oops, throwing my early espresso around. See what that looks like. You could also round these corners or punch something into the corner. I just want to keep this one straightforward for anybody who is a beginner without adding too many layers or complications. So I think that's going to do the job. So I'm just going to layer those up. This was when I stamped a little bit too high earlier, and that's the nice thing about watercolour paper, is that you can use both sides, it doesn't seep through. So just going to layer that onto there like so, and pop that onto my neutral crumb cake card. run out. There we go. Like so. And there it is, our finished card. Now you can add some little splatters or anything if you wanted to. I'm just going to keep this one straightforward. Let me lift it up to the camera a little bit more so that you can see. I think I need to work on this colouring. For me, this looks too red. I need to make it more orange, but I have lightened it up, so I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with the other general colouring. So there we go, and on the inside I'll just pop a piece of white, which I'll cut down in a minute, with a sentiment on. So there we go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to catching up with some of you this afternoon at Coffee and Cards, so Scott and Jill. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. For those of you that are in Australia, enjoy your evening. And for those of you that are watching on catch up or replay, enjoy the rest of your day, morning, afternoon, evening, depending on when you're watching. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thanks for your kind comments, everyone. Just finishing up Carol, so you'll be able to watch it on replay shortly. It'll be there in a minute. Thank you very much, everyone. Do take care, look after yourselves, look after your loved ones, and I hope you can keep crafting. Thanks for watching today. Bye for now.